Hello, and welcome to today's video. Once again, we are doing my hair, and we're discussing a slightly different topic today. Today, we're discussing the secret society that the bears, like the animal that bears have started. And this society it's pretty intense, I'm not even gonna lie. You would think, so bears, what do we know about them? We know that they hibernate during the winter. That's what they want us to think. During the wintertime, the bears actually gather for this massive council. Nowadays, I think they just telecommunicate it like giant Zoom meeting style. But in the past, they did actually like all meet up together at the same time in the same place. But nowadays, this bear council just meets virtually. So that's why it's like, it seems like they're all just sleeping in their own caves and stuff. But really, they've got their little bear devices because bears have electronics too. This is not the most well-known fact, but it is in fact true. So the bears, they have their little devices, and they all get together and they do their council. What do bears do in this council, you might ask? Well, they do a lot of things. Bears actually have a ton of business going on, like all the time, which is why this council takes so long. It's usually like all winter. Usually it just conveniently needs 2 or 3 months. Some years their council doesn't take as long, and those years they do actually get to sleep for like a couple months, take it easy. But a lot of the time the council takes like the whole hibernation period. And like that's why they made up the hibernation thing solely for these councils, because they like to keep it kind of on the down low that they are having this massive meeting. Obviously, there are a lot of bears, and there's a lot of different types of bears. I don't know for sure whether the bear council is all of the different types of bears together, or if like each different type of bear has their own bear council. I just know that any adult bear every winter gets in on the council while they're supposed to be hibernating. I think the younger bears do probably hibernate during this time, unless they would rather be awake for 2 months during the crazy council of all of the bears. I don't know the specifics. I've never been to one of the meetings. I just have done a lot of research on it. And what I've figured out so far is they do their little council every year. So back to the topic of what do they accomplish at these councils? Like, what are their goals? And I think it kind of varies by the year, but a lot of it has to do with like politics, because obviously, just like humans, bears have a very intense political system, so they kind of have to keep up to date on that. The political system that they have in place is kind of what runs a lot of these councils. That's as from what I understand, that's like its main purpose is for the bears to gather in these councils. Like that's what their government kind of does. Keep track of that and keep track of all the things that they discuss. I think some of the things they discuss just have to do with like training for how to be bears, or at least how they want people to think bears act. Because really, bears are a lot more intelligent creatures than they often let on. Hence, they're having secret councils that most people don't even know about. So clearly, they're doing a really good job. And I so much respect for them for how much they've been able to like keep it quiet and stuff. Obviously, I've gone most of my life without knowing about the Bear Council, but now I am enlightened with the knowledge of the Bear Council, and I'm going to be the whistleblower to share that. Of course, I don't think the bears are on human social media. They don't speak English. Like, that would be funny. That's why it's kind of hard to know a ton about these bear councils, because obviously they speak in bear languages, and the only language that I know is English, unfortunately. I really need to work on learning more languages, but yeah, even if I did learn more languages, I can't say the bear language, or there are multiple bear languages, just like there are multiple human languages, there are multiple bear languages, and I wouldn't even know which one to start with. Like, I'm sure there's like more universal ones, similarly to like how English is so widely used throughout the world, but I can't say I really know a ton of the specifics about bear languages. That's something that I'm gonna have to do a lot more research on. Maybe build some kind of device that will allow me to communicate with bears, something like that. Google Translate, but it can translate into bear languages. That could be really helpful. I mean, ultimately, I would say the best way to probably go about that is if I can somehow like bribe slash reason with a bear to like get me insider information. I won't disclose whether or not I have done that before and how that may or may not relate to some of the information that I do have about these bear councils. But the point being, you know, maybe that's something I could potentially look into in order to get more information. But anyways, back to the bear councils. From what I've gathered, which obviously is a lot of inferences and a lot of assumptions because what I've observed, I have not been able to fully understand. Of course, like some of like the non-verbal cues kind of hint at what they're talking about, and that's what led me to believe that a lot of these bear council like sessions have to do with like training and like hiding things, because like they'll all be like sitting up and like chatting and just like seem to be really involved in stuff at like some points. And then at other points, like it goes to this section of the bear council where there's like these few bears that seem to kind of be like they're like the mentors or something in terms of teaching the other bears how to act for humans to see. And they'll do all these weird little like virtual workshops and stuff. And it's crazy. It's really intense, but like from what I understand of it, it very much looks like they are teaching bears, other bears, how to deceive humans and other animals so that we don't know about the bear council or about any of the other things that are going on with the bears. From what I understand, the devices that they use to communicate and like during these bear councils and stuff, they use for other purposes as well. Like if you find a bear in the woods, chances are they have one of these devices. They're comparable to a human phone, I guess, but they're not like, they're very different. They're so different from human phones. Like they're comparable, but don't get me wrong, they're not the same thing. I would describe them more as they're obviously a communication device. The modern ones do have video, which is kind of very important, very integral to the bear council and like the training portions of it. But it's got a lot of other features too. As far as I can tell, like the bears have a lot of inner communication like with the council and like with council members, but they don't typically seem to like keep in contact with just like friends and stuff. It's more like their electronic uses are very much so like business and necessity based. So it's like if they don't have to have their devices out, they don't, but they usually seem to keep them with them just in case there's some kind of like announcement from like the bear council heads, aka like their government of sorts. I guess I wouldn't say that this bear government is specifically like their job isn't to just govern bears and tell them what they can and can't do. The bear government is more so like they're just in charge of running the bear council and making it happen every year. And obviously that does come with power and influence. Like because they have that position, it's letting them influence bears. Like they're in charge of the training of how the bears are supposed to act. So they have that influence on other bears, and other bears are typically very accepting of it. There seems to be a few times when like a couple of bears will maybe seem to have some issues with something that the bear council is doing, or like they'll be kind of, you know, just against it for whatever reason, and they seem to kind of resist or want to fight against it. But it seems like that's very, very uncommon. Most of the bears are pretty comfortable with the bear council and they're pretty accepting of what it's doing. And I don't know if that's just because they have it down so well that there's like that lack of corruption, or if it's just like a typical bear thing. I don't know what it is, but for the most part, it's like the bears are very content with the system. Like they don't have a preference on like trying to change it or remove it. It's really just like, it's just what they do. And they're good with that. Like there's no, it's like it would be silly to try and come up with something different to do because this just makes sense. It's what bears have always done. And I mean, like I said, nowadays it's electronic, but in ancient times before they had their communication devices, they did just have to have big meetings. Like, you know, they'd all meet up in this big field in the forest and like have this convention that would last for however long it needed to last. That's another interesting thing about the Bear Council is every year it takes place for a different amount of time. Like I've observed some years it will go on for like 3 or 4 solid months, maybe 5, and then other months it'll be like 3 or 4 weeks at most. And I don't know why different years it's different lengths. none of the bears seem to think it's weird, so apparently that's normal to them for the bear council to take place over different lengths of time. Like they act like it's nothing's unusual if the bear council goes for 4 months instead of 4 weeks 1 year. And I obviously still have a lot of information to kind of like gather and understand with that. I think in some ways it's like, despite the advances that the bears don't want us to be aware of that they have, they still are in a way a somewhat simple creature. Like they're not overly thinking through all of these elements of the bear council. Like clearly some of like the head members of it do have to put a lot of work in, but it's almost like it's just like a second nature type thing. Like as soon as they're in that bear council like government position, they're just like, yeah, this is how you do it. Like there's not even a question about it. And I still don't know a ton about the actual election process or like how they get into these positions. I've more so just observed that there are bears like maintaining these positions. And what's interesting about them is the rest of the year, they're just normal bears. Like they don't do anything different than the other bears. I mean, maybe they're like more committed to the things that they were like teaching during the bear council, but maybe that's just because they know it better because it was their job to learn it and teach it. But maybe it's just, like I said, I don't even know if it's something learned. Maybe it's just something that they do naturally, but they have to like remind the other bears that this is how they need to do it when other people and animals are watching. But yeah, it's very complicated and very complex, and I'm certainly fascinated to learn more about what their driving forces are, why they do these things. They're looking for the why behind it, because right now I'm seeing a lot of just what's happening, and now it's like it's time to start looking into why the bears are hiding this. For all I know, there's a whole nother layer of stuff being hidden. Like maybe there's a secret, like some kind of thing going on that they're trying to keep from, even if someone like me observes a bear council, I still only understand so much of what I'm seeing. There could be so much more that they're hiding that even somebody that just sees it wouldn't be able to figure out. So hopefully as I continue to gain information about these bear councils, what they mean, what their purposes are, and all that, I can continue to share with you. Because like I said, I don't think the bears are on human social media. They don't know what I'm sharing. So as long as you guys aren't going and telling like bears, like don't go to the zoo and be like, hey, Mr. Polar Bear, Zellaveire, she's this YouTuber. She knows about the bear councils and she's telling people. Don't do that. Don't do that. As long as you don't do that, I shouldn't have a problem with continuing to share this with you. But yeah, my hair is done, so that will be all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Let me know down below your thoughts on the bear council and some of the questions that you want answered about it. And as I continue to gain more information, I'll try to figure out some of those answers. But yeah, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.